Murder trial of Brian Kohberger, the man who was charged with the killing of those 4 University of Idaho students, getting the change of venue. Judge granted it. Granted the request of Kohberger's attorney today, saying the jury could be prejudiced if the trial had stayed in that town, Moscow, Idaho, where the stabbings occurred. Now, the judge did not say where the trial could be moving. It's expected to last 3 months. Of course, at News Nation, we've been following these developments quite closely every step of the way, and we're joined now by Misty Marris, the trial attorney, legal expert extraordinaire. Brian Enton, who's been all over this, was telling us that, this might happen, but they said it's interesting because you get a new judge, too. So what do you make of it all?
Well, you get a new judge, and this was a tough case for the defense to move the trial because it's high profile. There's no place in the country where you haven't heard about this case. So that's always the counter argument that the prosecution presents. They say, well, it's high profile, the media has been all over it, so there's really no need to change venue, and there's an interest in keeping it at the location where it happened, locality of witnesses and whatnot. However, what the defense did here, very clever. They polled potential jurors before the case even gets into the courtroom. They did a survey in the area and in the county where this case would have taken place.
Right.
And they got responses of people's reactions to Kohberger. And some of those responses included, we wouldn't be able to acquit him because the city would burn. There was intimidation to actually have a potential not guilty verdict. So that was a large part of the defense argument, that this case has to be moved because in this small town, this is going to be something that he won't be able to have a fair trial.
Now, if he gets convicted in this new, town, wants to say something like that won't happen as well. I mean, I don't know how much practical change we'll see as a result of a change of venue, but maybe you think it will.
Well, it certainly doesn't eliminate prejudice, right? Because this case is high profile no matter what. But it's likely going to Boise. They haven't announced that yet. A panel of judges will make a determination about the new county. But Boise has housed large high profile trials before.
Okay.
The Vallow case, Chad Daybell.
Right.
We've seen those trials play out there.
We're more used to it.
Exactly. And the other piece is, you're still going to have all of the issues you have with any high-profile jury selection. There's still going to be a complicated process to get jurors who may have heard of the case, but can go into that courtroom and base their determination on the evidence only and not what they've seen outside of that.
Interesting. So obviously we'll follow this. What's the timeline, do you know, on what they said with this?
So this is looking like next summer at this point.
Okay.
So there's still a significant amount of motion practice to get through before we actually get to trial.
Fair enough. I want to ask you about a couple of other things here, including this football player, Tyreek Hill, a terrific player for the Miami Dolphins on his way to the game. The video, we've showed it a number of times there. Here it is. That's him, his car, I should say, and he's on the ground. This is before the game. He gets handcuffed. He's thrown on the ground by the police officers, Miami-Dade, and he was detained. Eventually, he played in the game, scored a touchdown, as a matter of fact, celebrated by putting his hands behind his back, kind of mimicking what happened here. That said, on the legal side of this, what did you make of all of this and what we know now? Well,
the two sides are going to be that the police will argue, as they do in these types of cases, that their actions were justified, that the force was required under the circumstances. But we have a video here, so we really see how everything played out. And that's why you could see a civil suit against these police officers coming out of
That's
this.
what he's thinking about doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen sooner rather than later.
Right, said it through his lawyer or his agent. There's a statement, meantime, from the police union, which is kind of interesting because they get into the time frame, and their point is what you're talking about. It's part of the statement, as you see when we bring it up. Upon being stopped, he was not immediately cooperative with the officers. Pursuant to the policy, they placed him in handcuffs. Was still uncooperative, refused to sit in the ground, and was therefore, quote unquote, redirected to the ground. So it sounds to me the union saying you don't see everything. You don't see everything in the video is already on the ground. You don't see what happened before that.
Yeah, so the question becomes, was this excessive force? And from a legal perspective on a civil case, it's different than a criminal case, right? It's preponderance of the evidence, but there's protections for police officers because they have to be able to do their job. So it's a nuanced legal argument, and you see the union coming in right away and saying that this was appropriate given a certain degree of resistance. And that's how it is. It's progressive. So it starts with a command, and then you might get to the physical side of it. But again, we see what's in the video. but it sounds like the initial reaction is there's more to the story.
Let me go back to Kentucky for a moment, okay? We just had breaking news here with the mayor on a few minutes ago from London, Kentucky. That guy who's accused of shooting those 5 people on the side of the interstate apparently has sent a text message, or did, vowing to, quote, kill a lot of people. That's what the arrest warrant said. So I was asking the mayor about whether they're getting more information in. This is from the Associated Press. He sent this text, but, you know, we don't know. This is the guy, Joseph Couch. Thoughts on where this story is all going? I mean, it's going to be tough to find this guy in that terrain, as we were just talking about.
I was just listening to that broadcast, and I'm imagining what it's like to be in that area and thinking about a danger, an active threat that still does exist. But every text message, every piece of electronic communication helps to narrow and potentially pinpoint a location of this individual.
Yeah.
So all of that is going to be helpful in the timeline to catch this person.
I'm presuming, well, I don't know for a fact, but maybe that text message was sent earlier. I don't know if he has anything on him right now that would be pinging or anything like that. I'm sure they would have used that already. They found a gun. Whether he has another gun, whether he, you know, that's a tough situation for authorities. Thank you, Misty, as always.
Thank you.
Misty Marris with us on top of all the legal news here, 23 past the hours.